So, My Starfish Fingers Fumble, Poems That Thestrals Sing. The question that I get most frequently is, what is a thestral? A thestral is a mythological creature from the Harry Potter story world, and the only people who are able to see thestrals, which are kind of like a horse, like dragon, batty and scary, the only people who are able to see them are people who have experienced death or experienced grief very closely. And in the storybooks, very frequently, it's young people who have experienced the death of their parents before they should have. And so this book came after, or this manuscript came after my mother passed away of ovarian cancer in 2009, and my father passed away 2 years to the day after that in 2011. Very, very unexpectedly for that. So that's why this is called Poems That Thestrals Sing, and I will open with, I will try and open. See, I intentionally did no table of contents. I intentionally did no table of contents and no page numbers, thinking, oh, they'll have to read it then. They'll pick it up and pick a new poem every time. They'll have to read it. This is called Father's Pantoum. I wrote this piece about 8 days before my father passed away. The universe prepares you for things when you don't want it to. And so this was actually a workshopped poem from the Delaware Literary Society. Father's Pantoum. Memories' gnarled hands haunt the hallways of my father's house. My starfish fingers fumble with the knobby-knuckled door. The copper knocker gleams like a forest-filtered sun, grown dim and worn smooth by 40 years of family and friends. My starfish finger fumble with the knobby-knuckled door. I look in the window at rooms unchanged, yet strange. Grown dim and worn smooth by 40 years of family and friends, rooms where father trembles as memory loses hold. I look in the window at rooms unchanged yet strange. Whispering pictures echo in a mute museum. Rooms where father trembles as memory loses hold. His inviting home now a silent setting for sorrow. Whispering pictures echo in a mute museum. The copper knocker gleams like a forest-filtered sun. His inviting home now a silent setting for sorrow. Memories' gnarled hands haunt the hallways of my father's house. Thank you. The haiku for our parents was printed on the back of the funeral booklets for my mother and my father. I got a phone call about 2 days before my mother's funeral saying, "Could you write something for us?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And the evening of my father's service, I got a phone call from the music director at the parish where I used to work, and he said, "We would really like it if you could match what you wrote for your mother." So, haiku for our parents. I gifted this to my siblings. In this transition, our mother is beautiful. Her strength, that of oak. Acorn leaves change, and autumn is a time to rest. Spring will wake, renewed. Be patient. Be still. Our dearest trees have fallen. Saplings grow strong yet. In this weeping time, our parents are rejoicing. Love lasts like hard oak. The oak, because my father was a carpenter, and most of the furniture in our home is antique furniture that is predominantly oak, and it makes us feel very... Jesse, this is my husband Jesse. I have a husband, that's Jesse. He comes out of the woodwork every now and again. He is the reason I'm able to have this fantastic job. And he said one morning, "Every time I get up and come in here, it feels like your parents are hugging me." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, you're good. You're a good egg." Mother, cancer came and consumed you. Cursed you to cripple and fade slowly, light gazing on an antique wedding dress, grief left standing at the altar of golden 50 years ago. We watched you die. Not the way you watch a movie or a race, more the way you see pregnancy's grace or the spacey pace of an eclipse passing by. Your frail, flailed arms lurched forward and grasped for airborne angels only you could Your bloated body, jaundiced and plained, squeezed the space of our absence long before we knew you were silently begging for a hospice hug. I call your sisters singing to tug traces of their voice from your voice from their words, and I inhale a shudder of ice with the impossibility of each hello. Your picture pressed to my cheek, painting snowflakes to frozen tears, wishing you might gaze back at me from glass lashes behind closed lids. I miss you, as if my toes have been cut off. No balance left, limping to progress, unsure of each step, and mapless, I am learning how to walk again. You taught me that all women are often denied opportunities integral to a full human experience. We have always been responsible for remembering the recipes of hope. The collective amalgamation of all grandmothers' voices insists I write of you. Vanguard of a lively muscled voice, you are the courage behind my words. You adopted me but birthed my vertebrae, contributed an unabashed and untethered song to the spine of my resistance. You raised me and my consciousness, pushed me outside of my safely prepackaged context, encouraged personal pyrotechnics, electric, bold bursts of burning authenticity, fierce testimony to ancestral sanctuary passed down to a child always yours, but not born of you. You created of me woman, whose decisive thoughts and actions have begotten a distinctive and earned reality. You reveled in my upsurge, and all my glory as you do. Mama, I miss you. You shattered sound barriers across the board, confronted the silence, insisted I too confront the silences and where the silences come from. You bolstered my independence, fostered a stubborn and righteous demeanor, challenged me to keep my poetry palatable, read in an ardent and mellifluous tone, and even though you never heard me speak, you insisted I stomped towards every available open mic, available pulpit before me. And mostly, you exampled what it is to be humbly spirit-bound by the God in this world. I strive to make you proud. Share your stories so you won't be forgotten. Plant seeds of wisdom that have fallen from your tree. Inspire future prophets. Reflect your legacy. I am humbled to follow in your breath, living with the acceptance of your death, as if life depended on it. And in your rest, it does.
Oh.
My father was slated to come to a feature reading I had just before I left Delaware, and he was ill that afternoon. So my parents never had the opportunity to hear me read any poetry. They always received my books, but they never heard anything out loud. Avocado Sublime. Today, I picked an avocado, sliced it open, and bagged the half with the pit for later. I sat by the pool and played with the dogs and ate creamy green with a spoon. This is the life, I said. Deja vu in the kitchen. Soon, we'll all be dead.
Oh.
It's a cheerful book, isn't it? Fingers, texture of dates. Our hands hold myths. Palms, hues of salmon. Fingers, texture of dates. Water, fruit trees, thrum drums, chiseled rock. Air doesn't mind lip taste. Soil withstands beatings. Sun's temper not blamed. Other planets laugh. Moon tugs ocean strings. Lightning leans to lover land. Hurricane whips skirts against sand. Waterways like gashes on shore. Clouds combust in sky. Suffocate stars. This territory is not proud to claim us. Mountains of trash under grass, vultures circle to hunt, scientists, saviors, magic, fatal, savage, stoic. Our hands held myths, palms hues of salmon, fingers texture of dates.
Oh.
Thank you. B is for Bukowski. I see Americans blundering through airports, uncivilized, uncultured, farting baboons. I'm drunk, And I tell you, I'd be glad to rise above my circumstance if you'd only point out the ladder to climb onto your high horse. The worn stewardess wears her red ore uniform with the scarlet letter pride it may have deserved 20 years ago when she rode the airways in her prime. But time has taken its toll, and the polarity of youth to age indicates one more prostitute in the bed of death. There are thousands of Skid Row limbos, airport places where lovers are put on hold, stuck in the shitty in-betweens. We are kings and queens with bone-dead sorrows, like rotting starfish rolling from the ocean and washed ashore.
Oh, whoa.
Blues. Woman slides to the rim of the moon like blues to the edge of a trumpet. She has no eyes but stares with the incense of her gaze. She has no mouth but sings with the twilight of her voice. She has no mute to dampen the belly of her prayers. And still, her words are wet. All right, for Price. Many poets are beautiful cynics, wearing the jaded robes of their teen angst with all the purple grandeur that velvet, ermine crowns, and royal egos used to muster. Most poets I've met are prepared to present a poem of personal perfection, pieces persistently prone to provide a positive reception, but the teeming self-perception and the gleaming self-prestige turns too many poets into prom kings. It is ironic, Ms. Moore said, to pilgrim the change from poetry's peasant to the opposite range where poetry's princes are begging to be my liege. I challenge them. Ask me a question, tell me a story, or give me a kiss. Ask for my performance and I'll cringe. All the same, most poets are players in this wordsmithing game, so I wrote it in 4th grade with sugar-grin lips and stars in my eyes, 26 letters to garnish the skies. A beautiful comet dances elegantly, falls gracefully. Heaven-sent iridescent juggernaut, kaleidoscope of lunar magnificence, nighttime's opulent paradise quietly rockets through the stars tonight. Unearthly variegations whirl into the xanthous yellows of morning. Zoom. Or tell me a story. Tell me a story like novels are written on caskets just after twilight's past midnight's dance to the dawn. My memory longs for immortal gestures like bright wilting flowers in front corner pockets, and instead we recall each other in broken breast lockets with the bones of our poems could hatch passion birds, launch phoenix words, and write Icarus back to the sun. Give me a kiss and let truth blister your tongue. Those who request the sanctity of lips are rarely those ready to worship. But the poet who mattered wrote stories off stage, leaves questions unanswered until the last page, said, when I breathed into your neck, I felt a bit of Israel. And so exhaling desert into a shoulder oasis and living on a faith without words, many poets are beautiful cynics, but they have a tenderness, I believe in.
Aww, yeah.
Bryce asked me if I really did write the ABC part in the middle in 4th grade. I said I did. My parents let me listen to too much NPR, and and it came out of a challenge on NPR. For Jen. There is a panic that grips her tightly, and she has known terror before, but its name has never been mutilation. Violation has several faces, and cancer sneers at her with unjust relish. He is a thief who sneaks in and rapes the body. Invisible poison she must rip herself apart to be rid of. His scars will become an irreplaceable page of her story, betraying the glory of her healthy creation. Another stage of empty rage traces its fingers over her rotten womb, but that has never been the source of her giving. We know she is living for when she opens her soul to sing, songbirds stutter into silence, shamed by the pure passion her heartbeat pumps from a chest now scratched by death's nails. The grace that sails on melodic petals from her rose-high lips offers a glimpse of resurrection from this pain. The marks on her body will never stain sunrise's shadow from her spirit. She will keep singing, and when we hear it, our phoenix days will swell with relief. This body's grief is not a grave for the self she's grown used to. Cancer can't steal her ability to heal. In the breath of the universe whispers an unheard apology for the disorder of things. We become who we are in the prelude to scars, overture to a new normal way of life. After the knife carves into her skin, she will begin living again. Lazarus, awake, loving self, and breaking out into a run.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is for my friend Jen. It's delightful. And survivor.
Yeah.
A 2-year survivor now. At 33, I think. So. I will do one more performance piece and then one more short one.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. It has been 4 years since I sat in the hours of everyone sleeping, alone, institutionalized, with all my parts weeping. 3 days before that, alone in my bed, all poems been written, all stories been said, I puffed in butane and exhaled dread. Drunken and sour, I taunted the breath of each lasting hour. I called you, Margaret, and I said help, but I've never said thank you for coming. I was so scared that you wouldn't. These days I take pills to close the gaps in my spirit, and if I stop, I fear it means I will tumble into darkness beyond your arms, not prepared to catch me. Psychopharmaceutical is a word without rhythm or rhyme. And each of these pills only buys me limited time. Tiny, yellow, small, round, and white. 3 bright blue in the morning, purple circle, green diamond at night, and oval for sleeping, and 2 more for the shakes. This cocktail of medicine is apparently what it takes to maintain stability in my mercurial self. Some of us come into this world all too ready to leave it. And what keeps us holding on is our ability to perceive how awful it would be for our families to grieve it if we gave into the futility of this rented mental health and sank into the belief of a disappearing self. In the hospital, I studied the Gospels through their ancient, dusty tomes. I flipped the pages and sought out hidden poems. I hoped that angels would erect scaffolds to build glorious homes amidst the alleys of my many wound swings. Shit. I prayed things. I am not now convinced of my own significance, but I do know I was afraid once. I wove stories and contemplated faith, challenged preconceived notions and created spaces that were safe. I taught, drenched in a perfume called imagination. Exhaustion and elation were easy prices to pay to change the world one classroom at a time. Confidence was mine. Children turned towards me like flowers growing and following the light of a magical moon, and I reflected the love of a forgiving and gracious God. I grabbed for stars before I fell and rode my fragile wings, didn't waste moments on self-deprecation or other caustic things. I knew I was worth what it cost. My mediocre surpassed average's excellence, and I didn't think my sanity was lost. But now I rebuild one pill after another, identity shaken in the death of my mother, 2 sisters both married with 3 children each, the death of my father, and they're all out of reach. I know I'm not crazy. I just lost my will. My family is why I'll keep taking these pills, establishing some notion of a solid mental health, and beginning again, becoming myself. Cincinnati. Cincinnati was my safe word for topics I couldn't broach, and Mother's death was all over Ohio. It has been 2 years and I can travel there again. Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo. But we know Cincinnati swells my fears, and I shake without any more tears to shed. Our mother is dead. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.